So, Kate, can you tell us a bit about what inspired you to start up a podcast?
Yeah, Jeanette, this is an interesting one because I have been in public relations for over 25 years. And when I did the maths, it almost horrified me. And I think I've got to a point where 15 or 16 years of that, I've had my own business where I've worked predominantly with women in business and helping them with their PR. But the way PR's changed over the last few years
Yep,
with the way how technology is creating, it's great. Everyone's got news at their fingertips, which is fantastic. But the whole sort of layout of how I originally trained in PR has changed significantly.
can
And
imagine.
always tell the story that I learned how to do PR initially way back when, and I was sending faxes to editors in
Yep,
a newsroom,
I
and my
remember
children.
faxes.
Yeah, that's right. And my children are like, oh, yeah, they've got one of those in the museum, Mum. So I feel like a relic. But I do feel so for me, it was very much, I think, it's a young person's game now. And I wasn't prepared to have to relearn something I've been in.
Yep,
People do extraordinarily well. It's not all young people doing it, don't get me wrong. So for me, it was just a case of what can I do? What do I find interesting? What do I still love about PR? And what would get me out of bed each day?
yeah,
And on the side note to that as well, what I do is I actually set myself a goal every year at the turn of midnight on the 1st of January.
love that.
I always set myself a goal to learn at least one new skill a year. And this year I just said, I want to learn to podcast. And that was about as far as I got.
How fabulous.
Not really knowing what I was doing. And I said, to be honest, Jeanette, I was probably a little lost, and just trying to work out what that meant. So, yeah, so then I sort of jumped into what that meant as far as podcasting goes. I
Were you
reached
a,
out.
were you an avid podcast listener? I know I am. I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Look, I'm actually not what I would class as a huge podcast listener, to be honest. I have my sort of favorites.
Yep,
I dip in and dip out, and it depends on what's going on. I do like a good crime one, but I think that's
there's
actually a lot
plenty
of
of them.
people. There's huge amounts of those, and obviously, there's self-help ones and
Inspiration, yep.
inspiration and CEO thing, all the sort of business
Humor,
ones.
covers
Yeah,
everything.
all of that, and it just depends on my mood and stuff. So. No, not a huge one, but it was just something I'm interested in
Yeah,
because a lot of people are doing it, and
it's
you just go,
exploding, isn't it? It really
it
is exploding,
is.
podcasting.
It
Yeah,
is. And then the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, you know what? The thing I love about PR is the storytelling
yes.
and the connection with people and that networking. And I realized looking back over the last probably few years, I've kind of lost that energy and had stopped networking because I wasn't feeling that excitement through
Yep.
my business and through what I was doing. And then it's kind of that rejuvenating. It sounds really corny, doesn't it, when you kind of
No, not at
recreate
all.
yourself? But
Not at all. I
that's
love
pretty
that. I
much,
love that annual challenge that you have, yeah?
yeah,
Learn
sometimes
something
it
new.
works.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I
And
also,
I love that you've just touched on storytelling. That's something I talk about a lot from that career branding perspective, the importance of our own unique stories, yeah? Particularly now we're
yeah,
competing with AI and the likes, yeah? Like the human story still really matters.
it absolutely does. And I think people forget that. And that's, I used to do a presentation for public relations for small businesses. And one thing I always focused on was since the dawn of time, humans have told stories. And
100%.
we love those stories. And I'm sorry, you can probably hear my budgie in the background. He's
That's all right.
chirping
Just adds
away
to the
as I'm
the
talking.
ambience.
He's telling his own story. Um, yeah, so and it is that it's that telling the story, and I think it's just finding the right forum to do that. And it's funny because some people, most people don't like telling their own stories, but
Yeah.
they like listening to others. But when
Yes.
you're put in that position to tell your story and people are interested, people will tell it. So
Yes.
I
Just makes
think
you so much more relatable, doesn't it?
100%,
Sharing your
100%.
story. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where I landed actually, Jeanette, is that my story is, my whole thing is I'm a big believer in community and giving back. And
Yes.
over my years, I've done that.
Yes.
And so the whole concept of the glitter effect, it came up because of my connection to community. And when I did a little bit of soul searching as to what gets me out of bed in the morning, my whole purpose and heart is what makes it my purpose and heart sing is community and that giving back. So,
Beautiful.
um, and that's where I just kept landing at that, and I kept saying I need to do something in that space. And
Yes.
then, sure enough, yeah, it sort of came together in this podcast,
And
which
it
will
ties
become a
in,
movement.
obviously you've had, you recently won a council award for your voluntary work, your community
Y-
contribution. So yeah, it's been a
Yeah.
regular theme in your life, hasn't it?
It has, and that's where, funnily enough, ironically, going back to telling a story, I don't like telling my own, and I had to learn to be okay with that and to
Yeah.
sit comfortably in that space.
Yes.
And yes, I did. I was awarded the 2024 Volunteer of the Year for Manningham Council.
Well
So that was
done.
last year. However, Jeanette, I sat on that for months and didn't tell anyone. My husband was amazingly proud and telling
Yes.
everyone, and he could possibly tell. And I was like,
Yes.
"Can you just stop? It's not what I do it for." And you don't do it for
No.
accolades.
No.
Nobody does. And I still to this day think there were far more deserving people in that room that night. However, I sat on it, and then all of a sudden I'm like, you know what, there's something in this. And I'm a big believer in the universe tells you, sends you messages when it needs to happen. And after a few months, I sat there, I thought, no, actually, this is telling me that my jam is community and people and storytelling. And so
And
it's sort of,
sharing achievements like that is also
yeah.
inspirational for others, yeah?
Yeah, I think it is, and that's
Yeah.
where I sort of landed. It's not me gloating about my
No.
story. It's trying to
Inspiring others.
inspire
Motivating
others.
others.
Exactly that. And that's what I've sort of looked at. And I always say, so I've been involved in lots of things over the years, but more recently in my local football club, I ended up being the first female president in their 50-year history, which was huge.
Yeah,
It's a
wow.
junior football club.
Yeah. It's a
And
strong
with that,
theme.
massive thing, and it's comes that with there's lots of challenges, but also lots of great things came from that. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, and it was
You're very community minded, and I imagine you would find with these people that you interview, and we're going to talk more about what's involved in running a podcast, but the people you interview, I imagine a lot of them are the same. They're humble about what they do. Yeah, they're not doing it to let others know what they're doing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
And it's always the sort of the doers, isn't it, that just get on with it and just doing it because it's their purpose, it
yeah,
makes their heart sing. And I love that. But
yes,
in order to promote more people to, or sort of get more people excited and trying to find their purpose and what their makes their heart sing, you got to share these stories because,
100%,
and
hundred
also
percent.
in a world that's heavy, and we all
Yeah,
talk about it at the moment, and it
yeah,
goes back to that news is everywhere.
yep.
Um, in a world that's heavy, I think we need more light, and that's where
100%.
I'm
Yeah. Focus
hoping
more
that
on the
this,
kindness and compassion in humankind. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I absolutely love the name. Glitter
Thank
Effect.
you. It took me a while to come up with it, but it was actually, funnily enough, I did a course, as I was saying, with 3CR Radio in Melbourne, a 2-day course on podcasting initially, when I still didn't really know what I was doing.
Yep.
And it was on day 2 on my way in my Uber. And I was sat there thinking, oh, I still don't really have a concept. And we had to start recording and pretend. And on the way in, I'm like, the glitter, glitter. I always talk about spreading your sparkle.
Yeah. I love that.
And then all of a sudden on the way in, I was like, glitter, I love glitter anyway. And I'm like, the glitter effect, that's great. And I did a little Google search on the way in. I'm like, right. I walked in and said, it's called the glitter effect.
Such a fabulous name. So what would you say was most challenging when starting up your podcast? What were some of the main challenges you
It's
faced?
it's knowing where to start, and it's that wanting to do everything. And we were talking offline with that. It's more you just got to understand what your strengths are
Yes.
and surround yourself with people who can fill that void
Yep.
where you don't know it. Um, and asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's knowledge sharing, and it's just understanding that, you've having a team of people, if you're in that position, it doesn't necessarily mean paid. You can do a lot of sort of mutual agreement stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just getting the right people to help you. So
Yep.
I said, I did a lot of head scratching, and then I was quite overwhelmed with, well, where do you start? It's all very well and good. And someone said, well, you just start, you just get your, I was like, well, that's not okay. I don't really actually understand that.
Yep.
And so then spoke to, I have a business mentor, and she said to me, well, actually, I've got someone who is a producer who does podcasts. Um, have a chat with him
Yep.
and see what he says. And it literally then snowballed from there, who then put me in touch with someone who could help me do my website, help me do all that side of things, or the tech side of things. I'm not a big tech head.
Yeah, the tech side can be challenging.
Yeah, and then I thought, well, that's not what I'm in it for. I'm not. Some people are in it for that, and
Doing the whole
eventually,
gamut.
yeah, and that's okay too. And eventually, I'd love to learn it when that time is right. But
Yep.
right now, it's just, I suppose it's my confidence building really, and learning those skills. And the other thing is sort of that imposter syndrome comes in, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It
of
sets
course.
in, that little baby comes out at some obscure times. And I kept saying to myself, well, just because I think this is great, why is anyone else going to think it's great?
Was this in the early stages more than like now you've really taken off with this podcast? Was that more in the early stages, that imposter syndrome?
Yes,
Yep.
yeah, very much so. And it was before I'd even really started recording. I always remember being at a function. It was my husband's function, and a work function, and he's an engineer. And so I was talking to some of his work colleagues, and he said, "Oh, you should share what you're doing." And I was like, "Oh God, I don't think engineers are going to really dig glitter." And so I started sort of talking about it, and I was really like, oh, I was cringing on the inside. And then, sure enough, a couple of people just went, "Oh, that's great," and off they go, and that's fine. But then I got talking to this lovely couple who are community minded, and they got it, and they were
Yes.
like, "I love this, Kate. This is amazing." I was like, "Oh, yes, you're right. It's not, and you have to accept you're not something to everyone."
Exactly. And that applies to all of us, whatever we're doing. Yeah. You're not going to
Yeah.
appeal to everyone, but I mean, what you're doing is it's soul stirring stuff. Yeah.
Well, I hope so. And look, and it, like I said, Jeanette, it gets me out of bed every morning now, and I'm just excited. And it started through my networks of people because my background is working in not-for-profit.
Yep.
And so I've still got lots of connections in that space and
Well,
community
that's
and
very helpful,
everything.
isn't it? Yeah. And
That
do you find it
helped.
snowballed from there in terms of people recommending someone else? I know I recommended someone to you who I meant to
Yeah,
ask if you've been in touch with. Like, is it just snowballing suggestions on who to interview?
it is. And then I've got to then really be clear what I'm trying to relay.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then it just then sort of, you've got to keep coming back to what the purpose is and what you're trying to do, because it can go off on a tangent.
I can imagine.
Um, yeah, so, and everyone's got incredible stories. And I've had a couple of people reach out to me saying, I'd love to be on your podcast. And I've looked at it and gone, "Ah, at face value right now, I don't know whether you're the right fit. That doesn't mean to
Yeah.
say down the track it
Yes.
won't be the case." But even just hearing these stories and the fact that people like it, you go, well, it's obviously touched someone in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Um, but
Amazing.
yeah, so
Amazing.
it's more that it's given me that purpose
Mm.
now to start networking again
Yes.
after a couple of years of hiatus, I suppose. And
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
really enjoying now going out and hearing everybody's stories. And
You would have become a great listener, I would imagine.
which I love. I mean, so people are so interesting, aren't they? When you give them time,
Yep.
and time is a very rare commodity in our busy world, but people just love that connection and talking. And I just think, and my whole approach is, it's like this. I call it the fireside chat. It's not
Yeah.
official. It's not
It's
corporate.
authentic.
Yeah, it's authentic, and be you. And if you swear in it or whatever, I don't care. That's you.
Yeah.
That's just
Be
be
you.
you. Yeah, and
Love
that's
that.
what I like to
Love that.
portray, because there's a space for that. The corporate side, there's a space for that. Whereas this is just be real, be you, and
And that's
hopefully
what people
people
want, the real person.
they
Um,
do.
what would you say have been the key lessons in terms of hosting the podcast?
It's tech is
Yeah,
the
yeah, the tech.
yeah
But what about
other
also the engagement and
yeah. Look, it's I like to plan ahead anyway, and it's just being planned, making sure that I always make sure my guests have questions. I do my intro, my outro script, and my questions, and I send those to the guest in
Yep.
advance
Yep.
to prepare and to make sure it's correct because I'm only basing it on what I know, and if there's
Yes.
anything else they want to portray or don't want to be relayed, that's fine. And it's just making sure that people are all on the same page and they get it. One thing when I was thinking about this before coming on, the other thing was making sure you've actually spoken in that day before you record.
Yes.
I actually find it's easier. And the only reason I say that is because I did a recording and it was like 9 o'clock in the morning. And other than probably talking sternly to my children to get them out of the house, I hadn't really had much of a chance to use my vocal cords. And I kept getting tongue-tied
Oh,
trying to talk, and I had to keep restarting.
so you need to warm up the throat.
Yeah, it's like singing. I think you really do have to be, have to warm up and
Yeah, it's a bit like
or,
singing, really, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, I think so. So I think that's something I've learnt. And so
Yeah,
now I
yeah.
do most of my recordings later in the morning. And on days that I know I'm recording slightly earlier, I will talk to myself a lot or sing in the car or,
And
it's
you just made me think of something else too in terms of that speaking beforehand. Do you have a conversation, make sure you always have a conversation with the people who are coming on your podcast beforehand, like an icebreaker conversation, I guess?
not always.
No?
And that all comes down to
Their time and
their time and the individual.
do you
Some
find that
people,
makes any difference, like having a conversation beforehand or
sometimes it does. I think it depends on who, particularly if it's an area I don't know it too much about or it's something new to me. But
yep,
so, for instance, I've just had a conversation with Rochelle Courtney from
I
Share
know
the
Rochelle.
Dignity.
See her on
Yeah.
LinkedIn a lot. Yep. She's
Yeah,
amazing.
so she is incredible, and I've followed her for many, many years. And I know her story because she's very open about it all. So we didn't have a pre-chat because she knows what she's going to say.
Yeah.
I sent her the questions. She's well versed in this sort of space, so
Yep.
you comfortably know. Whereas there's other people who request to say, yeah, can we just have a quick 15-minute chat before, just to be clear? And that's okay too. I don't mind either way. I'm
Yeah.
happy
So
to,
you're flexible. You do
yeah,
it with them. I mean, they're
yeah,
doing you the favor of coming on the podcast, I guess. Yeah.
100%. And I'm
Yeah.
always big on time is everybody, it's everyone has a limited amount of time.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be taking up more time than is necessary.
Yeah.
And that's why I do things on Zoom, even if they're in the same sort of suburb as me. I'll say your time is precious. Jump
Yes.
on Zoom rather than
Yes.
coming to where I am. It's I just want it to be easy and straightforward for everybody and that they feel they're getting something out of it as well. And it's not laborious.
And that's a sign of gratitude too. Like I run, a networking group and we have speakers come. You were going to be a speaker, unfortunately you're unwell.
Yes.
But we have speakers come and they're volunteering their time.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want it to be as smooth as possible for them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And look, and most people, like initially with guests, I've gone out to people in my safety net, I suppose,
Yep.
and gone out to people that I either know or by association have had something to do with, so they know me and they're not doing me a favor by any means, but it makes it easier for them to say yes or no.
Of course.
But moving forward, I've done probably about 20 recordings now, so I only launched in May. Um,
That's
and
amazing. 20 recordings since May.
yeah,
Wow.
it's good. I try and do
Yeah.
two a week, and you
Yeah,
kind
wow.
of need your buffer as
Yep.
well. That's the other thing is making
Yep.
sure you've got your buffer because there's always people. I had one recording on Monday, but they were sick, so that's now been pushed back. You've got to be flexible. That's the
Yeah.
other thing.
Yep.
You can't be too stuck. So having that buffer gives you
So
a
you've got
week
people
if
in the wings ready for
that's right. And
yeah.
the producer that I work with, he said that ideally you'd need about six in the can
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
just so you've got that buffer.
Yep.
Some weeks you go, ooh. And then I
Please
have a
don't
big
anyone be
week.
sick or
Yeah,
unavailable. Yeah,
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 that's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Understandable. So who would so far of these 20 recordings you've done, who, and you don't have to say names if you know there's privacy, but who stands out among your guests and why?
Yeah, there's so many because they're all so different, Jeanette.
Yeah,
But um, the one, oh, there's a couple. Can I have a couple?
yeah, of
And
course, of
yeah,
course.
so the first one is a lady called Sarah DeJonge who has a fabulous initiative called Thousand Hearts Project, and it's a kindness. It's all about kindness. Um, and the reason that she is my first one is that she was my first guest that I actually got on, that I basically, I don't like the term cold call, but yeah, I touched base with her having no mutual
Right.
connection to her
Yep.
whatsoever. And she's so authentic. And I didn't know her. I didn't have a pre-chat. We just went on, and she's so authentic. She's so real. And I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And she really helped boost, she doesn't know it. She'll know if she hears this. She helped boost my confidence
Yeah.
because
In what way, I guess?
um, just knowing that it wasn't people in my safe space.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. 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 That you've
Because
got credibility. Yeah.
yeah, I think, and she kept saying, I love what you're doing. And I'm like, oh, wow, she likes what I'm doing. It wasn't someone who is going to tell me. I mean, my friends and family will tell me if it was a bad idea anyway, but my friends and family are all very much my biggest cheerleaders. This is
Yes.
outside of that sort of
Yes.
safety net, who you go, wow, they will either like it or they won't, and
Yes.
that's okay. But she loved it. So that helped me with my confidence. So that's the first one. And I just loved it. The chat really flowed because not all chats flow really
Yeah,
nicely either.
how would you handle? Sorry to cut to break
Yeah.
into what we're focused on, but how do you handle it when the chat isn't flowing well?
Well, that's why I have my questions.
Right.
And I always say they're a guide. Sometimes you need to, and I use them to sort of get back on track if we've gone off topic
Yes.
or gone
Okay.
down a little rabbit hole. But also it sort of helps get that conversation in line, and it gives
Yeah.
it sort of gets you back on track, both back on
Yes.
track, or and I use that as a guide, and then I might sort of add another question if
Yeah.
I've had instances.
Deviate where you can.
Yeah, so I've had instances where I've asked the question and it was like one word answer. I was like, oh, hang on.
Next. Next.
But I suppose that in me where my PR skills come into play, and that's how I would then, have to, I'm not a journalist. I've never trained as
Yes.
a journalist, but
Yes.
having to write media releases and things and get that story, I suppose that's the exciting part. That's where it comes out and I can use my PR skills
And
to
the
try
fact
and
that
delve down.
you've already sent them the script, so they have an idea of what's
Yeah.
going to be discussed. There's not going to be any real
Yeah.
shocks for them. Yeah.
No, that's right. That said, my advice to any guests is to not over prepare either.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Just keep it a bit
because
more organic. Yeah.
you can get caught up in that space. So I've had a couple of people who, they've got so many interesting things to say in their space, and it's all heartfelt. So my stuff's all really heartfelt,
Yeah.
and it's all from the heart.
Yep.
And in this instance, it's easy. Again, if it's more corporate, you probably do need to prepare. So it's more a case of, think about who you're trying to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah. It depends
Um,
on your audience, doesn't it? Yeah.
it does. But in this instance, for the glitter effect, I just want people to talk from their soul, from their heart. And a couple of instances, people have prepared way too much
Right.
and then forget and try and get statistics and get different things in. And then you just go, turn the notes over and let's start over.
Ah, so you have done that. Yeah. Let's start
Yeah,
over. Yeah.
just
Okay.
forget it
So you can
because
generally tell when someone's perhaps overthought it and overprepared.
yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can. And I
Yeah.
did this exactly with you. You sent me some draft questions and I looked at it. And at the time, I've written answers. And
Yep.
then overnight, I've looked at it and I'm like, I don't need any of that.
Yes. Yes. As long as
It's,
people have an idea of
yeah,
what you're going to discuss, yeah, and
yeah,
yeah, with what you're focused on, like you say, it's all about being very heartfelt, yeah, and
yeah. And
spontaneity comes into that as well, doesn't it?
that authenticity,
Yeah.
you can't beat that. And,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's hard. Some people get it, it's not for everybody as well. And I in my, being on a microphone and being on a screen, there's a lot of things that
Yes.
are quite unusual, and it's not
Yes.
that human contact. And so I get it. I get it. People are a bit
Yeah,
nervous
and
and
maybe they've never been on. I've been on a couple of podcasts now, and yeah, first one I was so nervous. I was
yeah,
definitely less nervous the second time. Yeah, it's
yeah.
daunting when you've never done it before. Yeah.
That's right. And being on the other side of it with you, for example, Jeanette, and I've also just done a podcast being a guest. I totally get it because I
Yeah.
was like,
It's different when you're the one being interviewed as such.
yeah, yeah, that's right, because you don't necessarily know what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who was the other guest that
Yeah,
before I dove in and cut you off? Who was
no,
the other
that's
guest you
okay.
wanted to?
So you're doing what I do. You have to
Ha
come
ha
back
ha.
to the question. So I've got two more. One I'll do very quickly. One
Yep.
was another guy called Simo Braun, and he has just finished a 12-month tour of Australia called the Bloody Good Tour. And he visited every single blood donor centre in Australia with his three children to raise awareness for the importance of donating blood and to
Wow.
try and save lives. So it was a massive
Every
undertaking.
centre in Australia.
Yeah,
Wow.
a
How long did that
huge
take him?
12 months he's
12
been on the
months.
road.
Geez.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I actually met him in when I was giving blood at my local blood donor centre.
Ah.
And in walks, unbeknownst to me who he was at the time, Simo with his tribe, his amazing, beautiful children, and his team. And then I got talking to them because they were trying to encourage people. They had something on the 31st of July. It was be a bloody good human and tried to break a record to get the most people giving blood. And I was talking to him. This was way back. This was earlier in the year. And I was talking to him about what it was. And I just sat there thinking, gosh, and this is before I've launched the glitter
I
effect,
was
but
going
I
to
knew
ask,
it
is this
was
before
coming.
or after you'd started the podcast?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
hadn't launched it as far as
So the
done any
plans were
recordings.
underway.
Plans are
Yeah.
underway. I'd say it was probably February, March, maybe, I guess. So don't forget, I didn't launch till May, in May. So I hadn't done any recordings. He was the first person I plucked up the courage and I told him about what I was doing and that I think I would really like him on as a guest. And his first response was, I love that. I love what you're doing.
Amazing. And
So
again, it's building your credibility within you as well, yeah?
yeah, so I kept in touch with him and he came on and I didn't tell him that he was until we actually had the interview that he was my first person outside of my
Yeah, your
safety net
safety
I
net.
spoke to and that he really sort of made me realize that there is something in it. So that's
Yeah.
why that was special. And the last one recently, there's so many, they're all so special, but one in particular, Jason Sotiris, who is the founder of Super Tea, which is a garment for kids in hospital.
Oh, I don't know
Um,
that. Yeah, okay.
yeah, well, it's coming out, and he's amazing, and he's got a beautiful story, and it's his daughter had cancer, 25% chance of survival, and she has very rare cancer. And so during his time in hospital, while he's fighting for his child's life, he's created this garment that all children can wear, and it's accessible from the side. So it's poppers, and they have like it's in superheroes and princesses. And so,
Wow.
and it's just beautiful. And it's a story that's special to me because it's a similar journey that I've gone as well, because my youngest son went through treatment for leukemia.
Yes.
In from 2016. So it kind of struck a chord.
Yeah.
And it was an emotional chat. It made me cry with
Yeah.
some of
Of
the
course.
things.
Same lived experience, yeah.
Yeah, some of the things he said, just it was really sort of plucked at the heartstrings. So yeah, so that all very different experiences, but yeah, they're three of the standouts, but they've all stood out in their own way. They're
Yeah, of
all
course, of
yeah.
course. Isn't it amazing how something good can come out of something so hard? Yeah, like what
And
that love story. Yeah.
that's exactly what we were talking about is, there he is. Some people would be struggling to get out of bed, and
Yeah.
there he is,
Coming up with this beautiful
coming up with
innovation.
something for not just his child, for so many other children
Yeah.
across, and now he's become, across Australia and wants to go beyond. So, it's some people are just incredible, and that's what this is all
Amazing.
about. Mm.
Amazing. So, what would you say, and this can be both personal and professional? I don't know how much professional will apply, but what have been the key benefits so far to you from setting up and running this podcast?
Oh, that's a goodie.
Mm.
It just re sort of that reignited that flame and given me my purpose again and
Yep.
given me, I call it my passion project because I don't consider it work. And it's given me that energy. I've got renewed energy to sink my teeth into something different. Just when I was sort of teetering as to not knowing what I was going to do, whether I was just going to completely change career path or something. So this has given me something to sink my teeth into. And then it's also given me that energy and positivity to go out and talk to other people and that networking, like I was talking about. They're the huge positives. And just, I just feel like a better person for it as
You're
well.
doing something good for the bigger picture, yeah, this bigger
Yeah.
community. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I am better, not just in the business space, but in a home life as well. You know, I
Yes.
feel like I can be more present because I feel like my purpose is there now. Whereas, you know, I was just sort of muddling through prior to that. So,
And maybe
yeah,
a
I
greater
feel,
appreciation from some of the stories you hear and
yes, yeah, and that's it. And it's also, I always do this because I've got a 15, a 14, and 11-year-old boys. And I like to show them, which is part of why I do is challenge myself to learn at least one new skill a year, is to show them that you're never too old, firstly, to
yeah,
learn something
love
new.
that.
And secondly, you don't have to be amazing at everything. Just having a go, giving it a red hot go,
And
and
learning
just,
as you go, yeah?
and that's it, and learning and being okay and making mistakes
Yes.
and owning
Yes.
them and learning from them and
Yes.
you know, just laughing at yourself or and I just try and use this sort of that and particularly this as podcasting, you know, they don't necessarily love glitter. They're learning to, but it's that. So I think,
You're leading by
yeah.
example for your children, yeah?
Look, I hope so. I'm sure they won't tell me that right now, but
No, but later on, you know?
hopefully, who would know? They never, in actual fact, they never have to tell me. I don't need to, I don't
Yeah.
need to
That's
be
yeah.
told. It's just, yeah, I feel like it's the right thing for me now, and I feel like
Yeah.
I can be, I'm a better person for it.
And I know this wouldn't be a driver, but I'm going to ask this because some people would probably be interested if they're going to set up a podcast. What has there been much financial investment that you've had to make in setting one up?
Yeah, look, there is. There's again, this is where I sort of made that point to my point earlier that I've surrounded myself with people who could do it, but
Yes.
that's
And then
because
you
I
have
was
to
in,
pay people, obviously. Yeah.
yeah, you do. So, it's there is obviously a cost attached to the production when I'm not doing it myself
Yep.
and to the web design and stuff. But I am in, I suppose, in a position where I can do that, and it's
Yes.
not always the
Yes.
case for everybody. So the best advice is really to just outline what your budget would
What
be,
you're willing to spend
what
and
you, yeah. And
yeah.
I think to get it right, it's a good idea to have a budget to start you off and then
Yes.
to learn moving forward. We're not talking mega bucks.
No,
I
no.
mean, you can. We're talking. I say it. It's not. I say it tongue in not tongue in cheek at all. But it's maybe a few $1,000s to sort of get going.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so it's there is a cost associated to it. But that
Yes.
said, you can actually
You can do a lot of it
learn
yourself if you want to.
yourself. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I suppose that's the thrill of the chase too, isn't it? If you've got the
Yeah.
time.
And I would
Um,
imagine over time, and again, I know this isn't your driver, but over time too, like with a lot of these podcasts, they end up getting sponsors and
yeah.
and like have memberships. Like I listen to podcasts where I know people pay to listen to their podcasts without any ads and stuff. So there's
Yeah.
potential to make money in the future from through a podcast.
Yeah, and that's Jeanette, that's actually where I'm heading now. I
Okay.
mean, I'm still very much, as I said, in the early days, the first few months of the podcast, and I needed to be clear that there was something in it and it did have
Yes.
legs before I start reaching out. And I've just sort of now gone into the affiliate marketing partnership space.
Right.
But again, that I'm really particular with
Yeah, of course.
who I bring on. It has to align with what my brand is and my
Understandably. Yeah.
beliefs and stuff. But and again, it's building that sort of that audience too. I've
Yes.
gone from I'm still not 100% clear of my statistics because it's still so early days, and I
Yeah.
haven't actually, ironically, I haven't done any PR yet, and that's purely because I want to make sure I still want to make sure that I have got enough backing to sort of showcase that I have got something. And it's
Yes.
that imposter syndrome coming back again because my mentor says just do it.
Yeah, it does
And I
appear.
suppose that's the thing as well is my advice to anyone thinking about podcasting is you can think, and it's the same with any part of business. And I always remember someone said to me years ago, just push the button.
Just
Don't
do
worry
it.
about it being perfect.
Yeah, I love that
Just push
advice.
the button and then fix what needs to be fixed.
Love that advice because we all wait, don't we? It's got to be
Yeah,
perfect. No, it doesn't.
yeah,
Just get out there and do it. Give it a go
that's
and
yeah,
learn as you go. And if it
that's
doesn't
right.
work, next, move on to
Ne
something else.
Move on. And that's right. And be okay with that. Own that
Yeah,
and just learn from it. And you're a better person for it. Again, I think that comes with a lot of age
yeah,
experience
it
and
does. Yeah,
life
bit of
experience and
wisdom, bit
stuff.
of wisdom.
Yeah, I think it
Yeah,
does. But yeah, that if I can offer any advice to anyone that wants to jump into podcasting is just
give it
jump
a
in and
go.
do it. Just give it a go because it's yeah, as long as you're clear on what you're doing and it's slightly different to what someone else is doing,
Yes, that's
that's
it. It's
the
coming up with something a bit different, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
hard thing.
And where do you so like I have seen posts about your podcast, for instance, on LinkedIn, but
Yeah.
where do you primarily promote and or share them?
Yeah, well, that's actually, I was thinking about that just as we were talking a couple of questions ago.
Aha.
But when I'm talking about partnerships and sort of working with people, I looked around and I worked with my producer at the time, and we had to try and find somewhere that was really good for sound.
Yes.
Um, and unfortunately, in my house, it's not the best for big recordings. And so I did a lot of looking around and I put the word out to people, does anyone know of any spaces? And I didn't want to have to travel a huge distance to go and use a studio and then have to record 20 interviews in one go because I
Yeah.
thought it's draining, it's
That
hard
would be
work.
very draining.
Yeah, but again, the universe, it heard me and came back. And then about 10 minutes down the road, there was someone who's actually got a co-working space
Oh
with
wow.
a podcast studio that he hasn't done anything with. And
Amazing.
yeah, so this was just in so it's in Nunawading,
Yep.
and Tim is the owner, and he I reached out to him and said, "This is what I'm looking for," and he said, "Well, actually, I haven't actually done anything in that space yet, so as far as renting it out, so maybe we could do like a contra deal. You give me feedback, and then you can use the space, and then so now I." Pay for the space, but
Yeah,
initially
yeah.
it was like you use the space and tell me if it works. So yeah, and it turns out
Reciprocity.
it is, yeah, absolutely. And he's again big into community, and so we cross paths, and we've got lots of mutual connections. And so
Yeah.
yeah, it was. So I started there, but moving forward, I will sort of. We've got we've got a caravan coming,
Ah,
that my family are caravanners, but that will be my hoping will be my recording studio moving
yeah.
forward.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so then that makes it slightly easier to do more recordings as
You really
well.
do need a specific space, don't you, for podcast recording?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's it. The key is just making sure that, and again, it doesn't have to be professional. And you see all these setups on things where they've got lounge spaces and it looks amazing. But,
Yeah.
then I've also seen people who have got like boxes and blankets over them. And,
Yes.
as long as, I mean, if it depends if you're doing, and that's the other thing, if you're doing video and audio,
Yeah.
then obviously you have to look okay.
Yeah.
Whereas I've started with audio and will build to video.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And I
Bit
think
more
that
professional than what we've currently got, which is my dog snoring at the side and you with your bungee
with the
cord.
budget, and
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly
Yeah.
right. So I think they're the sorts of things as well. Just I know I'm flipping between all your questions
No,
now
that's
that
all right.
people need to consider as well
Yeah.
is that you really do have to have a space that's really quite soundproof. But there's different ways to soundproof. It doesn't have to be a makeshift, it doesn't have to be a professional podcast studio.
Yeah. Yeah.
That said, there are organizations out there and people that will help you with that and offer that tech support and give you that one-stop shop too. So
Yeah. Amazing. And
depends, yeah.
I think like through this conversation, I'm thinking a lot, you've continued to do it from the heart, what you're doing from the heart, and it's just continued to build and build, and opportunities have come in because you're doing it from authenticity, yeah?
Yeah, and look, and I think I always say I'm very in a fortunate position where I am not having to monetize it initially.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the case for everyone, so I don't take that for granted at
Yes.
all.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel that like I said, it's just that I feel I actually joked after I did my first couple of interviews, and I joked with my husband and said, "Oh, I've been practicing decades. I've been perfecting this skill for decades. I didn't know that this was what I was meant to do." I just love it. I love it.
Yes.
And
Yes. You're a good listener,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I
and maybe a good
just,
prober too. I imagine you do
uh,
have to do some probing as well as listening, yeah?
maybe. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
It's
I've
just
always,
coming naturally, having these
yeah.
conversations.
Yeah, and even my mum jokes and said, well, you didn't ever shut up as a kid.
So
So
you
maybe
got to
this is it.
enjoy having conversations to run a podcast, obviously.
I think so. Yeah. And
Be curious and interested.
yeah, and that's the other thing. You've got to make something sound exciting. And there are some topics that aren't exciting, right? They're on
Yep.
podcasts. I mean, this is a different one because it's it's something for everyone, maybe. But some topics could be classed as quite dry, and so you've
Yeah.
got to make sure that you're addressing that in the right way and attracting the right people.
Yes.
And that doesn't necessarily, maybe you do need to be more corporate in that space.
Yes.
Whereas I can be a bit more relaxed. But then, like I said, we had tears in one of them. So it gets quite serious when we unpack some of the
Yeah.
questions. It's very heartfelt. So you can't just then use your questions and go, right, next, on to the next one. Thanks
Yeah.
for that.
Be
It's,
willing to deviate.
yeah. And be sort of vulnerable as well with them.
Yeah.
You've got your guest on there and it's that vulnerability. And I think that comes across. But yeah, I've learned a lot. And I actually, when I published the first few, my first two, we kind of published later. We didn't do
Ah.
that because we knew that they're not
Oh,
as,
because you didn't feel as confident in those ones as, yeah. Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. No one would know.
But then when you've built a bit of credibility and you're feeling more confident, it's okay to release those ones, yeah?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And it's also like I keep going back to my husband, who is one of my biggest cheerleaders, but he was listening to the podcast, and I don't make him. He just said he was starting to listen to them, and then he said, "Oh, there's one." He goes, "No, I started it. It's not my thing." And you have to be okay with that too,
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
take that
Sometimes it works,
personally.
sometimes it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like what we talked about earlier, then it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, is it?
yeah. And much like, lots of people go, "I actually don't listen to podcasts. Sorry."
Yeah.
And you go,
Yeah.
"That's okay
Yeah.
too."
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's thinking beyond that too, which is why I'm hoping now I've started with a podcast. Some people will do it the other way. They have a business and add a podcast, whereas I've
Yes.
started with the podcast and then I will grow
You
from that.
build out from there.
Yeah.
Exciting times ahead. All right. I'm going to end our chat there.